and cheer. In this podcast palace, we've got the atmosphere. Whoa, whoa, Bobo and Cramer, yeah, the stand of the lost, taking on the world, and they're never gonna stop with that New York grit, rising to the top. Get loud. Feel electric sound with every single word. You never gonna frown. From the Netline Giants to the Madison Square, Bobo and Cramer, yeah, this man can get it out. Whoa, whoa, Bobo and Cramer, yeah, the stand up the loud, taking on the world, and they're never gonna stop with that New York grit. They're rising to the top. Get alive. Where the legends play, Bobo and Cramer leading the way. We can blast this loud, shout it out loud. In the bestie in the house, we're rocking the town. In the bestie in the house, we're rocking the town. In the bestie in the house, we're rocking the town. In the bestie in the house, we're rocking the town.
And that's right, everybody. Welcome back once again to another edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rob Kramer, joined by my co-host, the great Daniel Bobo Carlin. And it's the 4th of July weekend, everybody. Happy 4th of July. Happy Independence Day. Let's go. USA!
Say,
USA!
USA! USA!
There we go.
USA!
It's 4th of July weekend. We got a lot to get into tonight. And Dan, how you doing today, buddy?
I'm doing good. First of all, I just want to say to everyone that Daniel Bobo Carlin here, me here, you there, and happy 4th of July weekend. I'll be grilling tomorrow. I'm waiting out this Met game that's in a rain delay, as a lot of you who probably watching the Met game are seeing.
That's right. Our buddy PhD hanging out with us in the chat. Thanks, everybody, once again. USA kicking it off here on this 4th of July weekend. Thanks, everybody, for hanging out with us on this Thursday night, July the 3rd. As, like I said, Dan, so much to get into in this show today. The Mets and the Yankees have really been going through just an awful, awful stretch for them. And then not to mention, somebody's got to snap out of it this weekend because it's going to be a big Subway Series matchup, round 2 at Citi Field this weekend. We're going to be talking about the Rangers making some big moves in free agency, getting a couple of trades down. So the Rangers are making moves, and the New York Knickerbockers about to hire a new head coach, bringing in a couple of little, reserves on the bench, strengthening their lineup and lengthening their lineup. So everything's going pretty good right now, and I guess except for the baseball, and that's where we're going to start it. That's where we're going to kick this show off right now. As, by the way, we are live on YouTube, we are live on X, and we are live on Rumble right now. So thank you, everybody, for hanging out with us tonight. Dan, you pumped to be getting ready to go? We got a big game for the Mets. Me and you, as you alluded to as we were coming on, playing the role of the schmooze right now, under the covers and ready to go, just like schmooze always would say. So how you feeling doing the rain delay gig right now?
I'm feeling good right now. I'm glad to be able to entertain all you people during this rain delay. And first of all, I got to say, yeah, I am pumped that I got a ticket to the Subway Series on Sunday.
That's right. You're going to be going to the Sunday night game. That's going to be a big matchup.
Actually, it's going to be a Sunday afternoon. Thank God we don't have to deal with those horrible ESPN announcers on Sunday.
Right. You're right. Actually, me and you were talking about this last week, too. And I think I corrected you. And now a week later, you're correcting me because I completely forgot. I just assumed they were having the Sunday night game again. You're right.
Yeah. This whole weekend, they finally got it right. Gary Keith had run this whole weekend. which is a good thing.
No doubt about it. Very good thing. And that will kick off tomorrow night at Citi Field. We'll get into everything with the Subway Series in a couple of minutes. But Dan, let's just kick off with the way that things have gone lately for the New York Mets. And it seems like over basically the entirety of the month of June, the only thing we had to look forward to was either rain delays, rainouts, or heart-wrenching blowout losses for the New York Mets. It has been a really, really bad run ever since they hit their season high of 21 games over 500. They were 45-24 as we woke up on the morning of June 12th, and it has not gone anywhere, anything good since then, Dan, as the Mets split the doubleheader yesterday with the Brewers after losing that game one in brutal fashion that we'll talk about in a second. But even with that win last night that felt so good and so needed, they've still lost 14 of their last 18 games, Dan. And I saw a very interesting stat from the great Anthony DiComo, who covers the Mets for MLB.com. You can follow him on Twitter at Anthony DiComo. And he put out this stat yesterday where in the last 20 years, because coming into the game last night, the Mets had lost the day cap of the doubleheader, and at that point had lost 13 of their last 17 games. 14 of their last 17 games. And the in the last 20 years, only twice have the Mets had a stretch that bad, and that's July of 2012 and June of 2018. And Dan, so this is going back to 2005, back that 05 season. We've seen a lot of bad baseball since then, Dan. We've seen that awful 2009 season where the Mets couldn't get out of their own way. We saw those, early Terry Collins years and everything before we started to get into the goodness of 2015 and 2016. We saw the awfulness of the Mickey Callaway Mets for the couple of years he was there, including, remember that terrible June of 2019 that ended with Brody Van Wagenen throwing a chair across the clubhouse famously back then. So, I mean, we have seen some pretty bad stretches of baseball for this team over the last 20 years, but only twice has it matched this awfulness.
Yeah, this one's just like, I cannot say. I hope this doesn't turn into anything horrible, especially the fact we're dealing with so many pitching injuries. It's really getting on my nerves.
Yeah, man, and you're absolutely right about that. We got Lee in the chat hanging out with us saying, "Get it together, Mets." She's dead on about that. They got to get it together. But Dan, you nailed it right there with the injuries, and not only, I mean, the inconsistencies on the field. It seemingly popped up before this ridiculous rash of injuries the Mets have had to deal with over the last month or so. But it seems like this this house that David Stearns built is starting to burn down a little bit, my friend, because just as you mentioned today, not only have we had to deal with all of the injuries that we've already talked about and that me and you have bitched and moaned about over the last few weeks. Today, we get hit with 2 more injuries. I don't know if you heard about this, Dan, but they just announced this afternoon that now Paul Blackburn, who just came back from the IL, I like this guy. He hasn't really been too good so far this year outside of his first start in the majors at Dodger Stadium when he threw very well. But he just can't get out of his own way. He has not only has he not pitched well recently, he can't stay on the field. He's hurt every time you turn around. Now he's got a shoulder impingement, so we're not going to be seeing him for at least the next couple of weeks. And even more critical, just when you thought maybe Deadnell Nunez was going to come up from AAA, the Mets had really been taking it easy on him, trying not to push him too much, seeing how he responded to working back-to-back days and getting a normal workload in the minor leagues. They finally brought him up again. He had a couple of decent appearances, but now we find out he's going to be placed on the IL, and it's very possible his elbow has been barking at him ever since his last appearance, and they're saying Tommy John surgery is a significant possibility for him. If you remember his injury last year, the Mets kind of tried to do what the Yankees did all those years ago with Masahiro Tanaka, where he had the UCL was a little banged up. They said, okay, let's just ease off him and let's see, what he's got. Let's see if he can rebound from this without surgery. Unfortunately, right now, it looks like he's going to need the surgery, and that means we're probably not seeing Dednell Nunez till 2027.
Yeah, exactly. It's like this is a Met that's never been.
Yeah, it's true. He had a good run last year at times, but for whatever reason, the poor kid's arm just gave out, and we're not going to be seeing him. It's going to be like The Godfather. I won't see him no more because he's, by the time he comes back, he might be a free agent, might be on a different team. You never know when a guy is going to be hurt for this long, and unfortunately, that might be the last time we see Dednell Nunez in a Mets uniform.
Yeah, exactly. So it's gonna be it. We've had another one of these disasters that seems to be. I don't know that everything turns to shit with this GM. I'm sick of 4A pitching. Get us some real pitching already.
It's about time. It's about time for them to.
And don't be afraid to call up our big prospects.
I was listening to David.
You need to put on the best
Stearns.
field on the field.
No, you're right. But I don't know if you heard. I was listening to David Stern's pregame press conference that he had at about 4:00 this afternoon at Citi Field. He usually does it every homestand at least once, or he'll go out there. He's actually been pretty steady with it. We remember Sandy Alderson never did, anything like this. So the fact that our GM does consistently meet with the media to let us know what's going on, I do appreciate it. He had nothing good to say today, as they were even. You had Howie Rose actually in particular was really. I was going to say hammering, but he wasn't hammering him with questions, but he was being persistent, asking him, what's the deal with these pitchers, these young pitchers. We got Brandon Sprout, who, you've been a big fan of, and he just had a very one of his best outings at AAA, although his numbers overall aren't very good. It looks like he's starting to come around a little bit and establishing himself, or as David Stern said today, he's attacking the zone and attacking the hitters in a way that he hadn't at this level yet. So maybe he's starting to acclimate himself there. But it seemed to me like David Stearns wanted to see more production at AAA out of this kid before they call him up. We've also got Jonah Tong, who was actually just named the AA pitcher of the month last year. But the key, word in that is AA, as he's still at least one level away from making the jump to the majors. We've seen guys go from AA to the majors before. Doesn't seem like David Stearns really has an appetite for that. And then the other guy, actually Nolan McLean, who's also at AA, and he actually had his best game of the season this year, struck out 10 batters today and looks very good. But to me, Dan, from everything I heard out of Stearns today is I heard that there's a slight chance Sprout gets called up, but it looks like the Mets are going to do everything possible to not bring up any of those three guys.
Yeah, that is just utter bullshit. Utter bullshit for this GM. Also, another thing, stop prospect hoarding. This freaking GM is worse. Not willing to go all in with these big moves.
Yeah, it's about time. The Mets have some decent prospects. They've improved their farm system over the last couple of years. This is the year where you have to go all in. This is the year where, look, as much as we can love the guys they picked up the last couple of years, they got some good stuff out of Ryan Stanek last year. They got some good stuff out of Phil Maton. They got some big production out of Jesse Winker, especially in the playoffs. A bunch of these guys that they picked up have come in and paid off. But the fact of the matter is, a lot of those guys they brought in were lottery tickets that they were just keeping their fingers crossed and hoping that these guys delivered. You have to go out there and you have to bring in a sure thing. And one of those things Mets have to bring in, aside from all their pitching woes, is a big-time hitter to lengthen this lineup. And the position that I got my eye on the most is center field. And when you look at this, Dan, we can blame the pitching all we want, and the pitching has not been good at all. It deserves to be knocked as much as it's been. But let's not let the offense off the hook either. The offense finally needs to wake up. We're in July, and we're still saying that, by the way. In June, this team averaged 3.4 runs a game. You're not going to win like that. You have to score runs when you're a team like the New York Mets. You have to go out there and at least score 4.5 to 5 runs a game. At least. That's the bare minimum this team needs to do. And they're not even come close to it right now, Dan. The Mets, not only are they the second worst team with runners in scoring position this year, second only to the Chicago White Sox. The White Sox are hitting 209 with runners in scoring position, while the Mets are hitting 218. But even outside of that, they just have not been getting the job done at all, and injuries on the pitching staff aside, and yeah, we know that Jesse Winker is down and he's about to rejoin the team, so you hope that maybe his bat can help loosen things up a little bit. But the Mets are going to really need to go out there and add a significant bat to this team.
Yeah, exactly. They really need to add a big bat to this team. They badly need to. Also, they need to realize they got too many prospects at one position. There's too many catching prospects. There's too many shortstop prospects. Use some of that surplus.
Yeah, well, the catchers, it's not as deep as it used to be because the Mets decided to, get Kevin Parada, who's not turned into a good prospect at all. He's been terrible. A couple of the shortstops, that's true, but it's funny. Me and you have bitched about this surplus of shortstops and catchers for the last 2 years, if not more, and they never ended up moving any of these guys for anybody. And now half the prospects that we were talking about aren't even considered legitimate prospects anymore. They're guys that more or less kind of stiffed out in the minor leagues. So, that's what happens too. When you wait on something for too long, it slips through your fingers.
Yeah, it's exactly what's happened. I even forgot if Jed Williams is even doing anything.
Jet Williams is doing good, actually. He's playing pretty well, especially over the last couple of weeks. He's been really hot. But the fact of the matter is that Jet Williams is still in Double-A. So the Mets are really going to need him to go up and perform at a higher level. Now, a couple of other guys that are starting to perform, Drew Gilbert, I know, is really playing well down in Triple-A right now. He has homered, I believe, in the last 4 games. So he's starting to get those numbers up there a little bit. And, hey, maybe if Drew Gilbert gets hot, maybe Drew Gilbert decides that, deserves a shot at center field at some point for the Mets this year. Crazier things have happened. And then also on the plus side, you got Acuna going down there, and he's playing every day, and he's looking pretty good so far. And we also have Francisco Alvarez, who's homered in 3 straight games. So maybe some of these guys that we saw down there, obviously Alvarez has been up here most of the time, but some of these guys are starting to really come around now and maybe getting ready to contribute to this team in the second half of the year.
Yeah, exactly. And I feel what they need to do is, I feel like Alvarez is going to be brought back up pretty soon. Maybe they need to fire Eric Chavez, because I noticed Alvarez's stance, his swing looks a bit different in Double-A, in Triple-A. I've been keeping tabs. I've been keeping a look at this on minor league games. I get access to the minor league games via the MLB.TV. I'm sure, as you know, also. I've been taking advantage of getting free MLB.TV through T-Mobile. Due to a little promotion we got. I got this thing. They get promotions. I've been taking advantage of it, and I've been taking a look at some of these minor league prospects, and there are some prospects that they need to really consider realizing, is there going to be room for some of these prospects? Who should be moved? Who should be called up? You should really take a good eye and be not afraid.
Yeah, Yeah, I definitely
And
agree with you on that. Yeah.
and stop hoarding the prospects you got on the log jammed on certain positions. Like you got the log jam on shortstop. Maybe move one of these guys. Get a pitcher.
That's not the craziest idea I've ever heard, Dan. I'm definitely with you on that, man. And hey, it's about time for them to make that move. They've been holding on to these prospects for a little while. Now, I'm not saying go crazy. I don't want to see the Mets trade Drew Gilbert. I don't want to see the Mets trade Jet Williams, or even one of these younger pitchers that we've seen. In the right deal, it's a possibility. But I don't want to just get rid of these guys for nothing. But a lot of these other guys, like we've been mentioning, a lot of the other shortstops, the catchers, and everything that we've got, I'm 100% with you on that, Dan. And a couple other things too to get into. Juan Soto won Player of the Month for the Mets. He had one of the best months in Mets history. As a matter of fact, he wins the NL Player of the Month. He hit 322, 11 home runs. He walked 25 times this month and had well over 1,000 OPS, just about 1,200 as a matter of fact. And with Pete Alonso having already won a Player of the Month award earlier this year in April, it's only the second time in Mets history that two players have won Player of the Month in the same year, joining Gary Carter and Keith Hernandez all the way back in 1985. So, hey, anytime guys on your team are being compared to the Mets of the mid-'80s, they're doing something right.
Yeah, exactly. And especially be compared to maybe some of the two of the first big leaguers I ever met when I was very little.
Yeah, and two of the most impactful Mets of all time.
Yeah. I'm just thinking that it just made me remember that when I was sometime when I was 4 years old during the summer of '86, like very, very little. I met Gary Carter when I was little. As I'm sure you've heard me mention that before, right?
Of course.
Yeah, I'm good. He was always a good friend of the family when he was alive. Great person. One of the greatest people I've known. I can tell you, and I hear the same thing from everybody that's met him. How great he was to the fans. I don't know if you ever got to meet him.
Never got to meet Gary Carter, but
great
guy. I met Keith Hernandez. Never met Gary Carter though.
Yeah, but definitely, I can tell you, Gary was he couldn't be any nicer. He was definitely a class act of a ball player and as a person. If you've been, and anyone who's ever met him will tell you that.
No doubt about it, man. And as for other honors that our New York Mets have received, we learned yesterday that Francisco Lindor has been named the starting shortstop for the National League All-Star team. Not only is it his first nod as a starter for the National League as a New York Met, this is his first time ever appearing in the All-Star game as a New York Met, which just goes to show how ridiculously flawed this voting is. Not to mention, how the hell is Ronald Acuna Jr. starting in the All-Star game? The guy's got 100 at-bats on the season. He's got no business being in the All-Star game. He's going to be there every year anyway. Why did they have to shoehorn this guy who is taking away a spot from another guy that earned it this year? And I'm not even saying Soto. It could have been any of these other guys that deserved the spot. Kyle Tucker, Teoscar Hernandez, anybody else. Why is Ronald Acuna being shoehorned in there when the guy missed the first 2 months of the year?
I have no fucking clue. I'm just freaking annoyed at that, and I'm just hope that they do the right thing. I have a feeling that that Alonso and Soto will be in the All-Star game announced later on.
Well, they are. They're going to be reserves. They're going to be on there. Alonso, we already know, and Soto, we already know, are both going to be in the All-Star game. They're just not going to be starters. And by the way, don't get me started on the Pete Alonso thing, too. I know Pete Alonso slumped over the last couple of weeks. It was bound to happen sooner or later. But to sit here and say that Pete Alonso should not be starting the All-Star game is an absolute joke. I don't love him. I love the type of player Freddie Freeman is. I respect the hell out of Freddie Freeman. Freddie Freeman should be in the Hall of Fame one day. That's how good that guy is and the type of respect that I have for Freddie Freeman. And I'm not even saying he shouldn't be on the All-Star team. But Pete Alonso's got double the amount of home runs of him. Pete Alonso's driven in almost 30 more runs than him. And Pete Alonso is only hitting a couple of points lower than him. So the fact that Pete Alonso got screwed out of this All-Star, he would have been the first Met since Keith Hernandez to start the All-Star game at first base. And it's a joke that he didn't get it because Pete deserved it this year. And it's really just incredible that they didn't give it to him.
Yeah, I am just baffled by that. All I can see is unacceptable.
Well said. Well said. So, yeah, tough break for Pete there, but at least he's going to be back in the All-Star game like he usually is. Just unfortunately not starting. One other thing I wanted to get to before we wrap the Met talk here, Dan, is what did you think of, and I know me and you were not happy about this, but I don't understand. The Mets have had off for a couple extra days. They got rained out, so Clay Holmes had an extra day of rest. He's going to have an extra day of rest the next time. Why are the Mets still in July? I get not pushing Clay Holmes in April and May when he's first starting to stretch his arm out and become that every, 5th or 6th day starter for the Mets. I get it. But we're in July now, and this guy had retired 5 of the last 6 batters. Sure, I had people bitching at me on Twitter because I was bitching about it, and I had people saying, "Oh, this guy, he walked 4 batters already. He was going to get lit up eventually." That's the complete opposite. If you're watching the game and you're seeing how it unfolds, I could have said, yeah, maybe that would have been true in the 3rd or the 4th inning if he didn't get out of it. But this is a guy that settled down. He retired 5 of the last 6 batters. He's always wild, and somebody even referenced his strikeouts. Oh, he only had 1 strikeout. He's a ground ball pitcher. He's not a strikeout pitcher. So don't even bring up his strikeouts to me. And I just found it, insane that Carlos Mendoza pulls this guy at 90 pitches, a runner on first, up 2-1 with 1 out in the 6th inning yesterday. Can you at least, look, I know he's not going 8, but can you at least let the guy finish the 6th inning, especially in a situation where the first guy he was running to was Reed Garrett? Reed Garrett shouldn't even be on this team anymore. And look, if they want to keep him around, whatever, put him on the Fugazi DL, IL, whatever you want to call it, and let his arm figure things out, give him a couple of week break between now and the All-Star break and bring it back after. But this guy, Garrett, should not be in the Mets bullpen at all right now. Every time he comes out, he's walking guys. He stinks. He hasn't been good in a month. Why is Carlos Mendoza running out in the 6th inning to put this guy that hasn't been good in a month into a 2-1 game?
Yeah, I am wondering that too. Why they brought him into the game? I just said, you could have let this guy finish the game, the 6th inning. Really, I was concerned the moment I saw that, and my worst fears happened. And there was a lot of cursing at the TV. I can tell you that 6th inning.
Yeah, no doubt about it. I was sitting at work watching that BS yesterday, and I wish I could have been cursing like that. I had to bite my lower lip because I was so mad. And as soon as I saw Mendoza coming out, and as soon as I saw Reed Garrett walking out of that bullpen, I'm telling you, Dan, I knew they were going to lose that game. I knew they weren't even getting out of that inning. As soon as I saw that guy coming in, I knew it was bad news. And, so I don't understand how this guy's still on the team. They've made all these roster moves and transactions over the last 24 hours, flipping guys in, putting guys down. They sent Blade Tidwell down. They've activated a couple of other arms today on the main roster, and still somehow Reed Garrett remains on this roster. I don't know how, but thank God he's not starting tonight, even though he's not, you know what I mean. But, so let's look at this pitching matchup tonight. If you're not paying close attention to the Mets right now, they are playing the Milwaukee Brewers tonight in the finale of their 3-game series. It's going to be at Citi Field. First pitch was scheduled for 7 o'clock, but it hasn't even started yet as we sit here after 7:30 p.m. here in New York because of the rain. So, they announced the start time for 7:45. So according to the Mets earlier, first pitch should be in about 10 minutes. So we'll keep our eye on that and see how that goes. But tonight, it's a battle of the Southpaws, Dan. Former Met last year, Jose Quintana, who had such a good run down the stretch from late August until September and through October, Jose Quintana was money for the Mets. As much as his inconsistencies annoyed me earlier in last season, the guy really cemented himself as a Met down the stretch there. And unfortunately, they didn't bring him back. They could really use him right now in that rotation. Look at those numbers: 6-2, 3.30 ERA would look really damn good in this Met rotation right now. And going against David Peterson, who about 2 weeks ago you could have considered as one of the top 10 starting pitchers in baseball based off his statistics over the last calendar year. But I'm telling you, they got hammered the last 2 times, or he got hammered the last 2 times out. His ERA's jumped about a run in that time, and he takes his 5-4 record with a 3.30 ERA into tonight. And this is a big start for David Peterson, and it's a big start for the Mets, Dan, because as me and you discussed yesterday too, I agree with you 100%. You were saying this to me off the air. This is a gigantic momentum game, Dan. I think if the Mets win this game tonight, then everybody's gonna take a big exhale. Everybody's gonna feel okay. We weathered the storm. Let's head to the Subway Series, and maybe they'll snap out of it now. But if they lose this game tonight, I feel like any momentum they gained yesterday is gone.
Exactly. They need to win this and carry that momentum into the weekend, and hopefully take 2 out of 3 this weekend.
Yeah, no doubt about it. This is a gigantic series against the Yankees.
Yeah, exactly. And also this weekend, the Met fans, do your Mets fan duty. Get yourself a ticket to one of the games this weekend. Outnumber the Yankee fans.
That's right. Everybody's got to show up and do their part this weekend in Mets country, looking to get things rolling this weekend against the Yankees. And it's going to be an interesting matchup this weekend against the Yankees too, as the only starting pitcher that we know the Mets are going to run out there right now for sure is on Saturday, Frankie Montas. That doesn't make Met fans feel too happy after his last appearance getting smacked around by the Pittsburgh Pirates. So he'll be starting on Saturday. It's the good old-fashioned TBD on Sunday night, Sunday afternoon when you're going, and on Friday night. They still haven't officially announced a starter for either of those games. And tomorrow we know that it's going to be Marcus Stroman going for the Yankees with his 1-1 record and an 8.10 ERA. So it looks like, Dan, pitching is not going to be at its highest this weekend with the available starting pitchers we got going so far in this series.
Yeah, this is getting me nervous. They better bring something out that keeps us in the game. That's all I could ask. If they need to use up the entire bullpen, they might have to do it. But at least if they have to use up the entire bullpen, bring in something that'll keep us in the game at least. Yeah,
no doubt about it. And, Dan, talk about the Yankees with the Mets playing them this weekend now. Let's talk about the Yankees for a couple of minutes. As much as we've talked about how bad things have gone for the Mets lately, it hasn't exactly been easier for the Yankees either, as the Yankees dropped their first 3 of a 4-game set in Toronto. They came back. They allowed 7 runs in the first inning yesterday. The Yankees got absolutely just blitzkrieged yesterday out of the gate, and they ended up coming back. They weathered the storm, as we were just saying before. They were down 8-0. They tied the game 9-9. It was 9-7, and Aaron Judge absolutely demolished a 2-run shot to tie it at 9-9, only to turn around and lose the game in the bottom half of the inning, 11-9. So the Yankees, despite the valiant effort, despite the to show the tenacity of this offense, which it would be great to see that from the Mets. The Mets, we haven't seen them fight back from this kind of deficit at all this year. This offense has been a disgrace. But from the Yankees' perspective, they went out there and hammered the ball. They got themselves back in the ball game. And then unfortunately for them, the pitching just couldn't seal the deal.
Yeah, exactly. Their bullpen is just starting to become leaky, and it's showing right now. And I think the Yankees downplayed the Blue Jays.
Yeah, well, I think the Yankees aren't downplaying anybody right now. I see what you're saying, but I think, Dan, when I show you this, you'll see that this is a much bigger trend for the Yankees than just these last 3 games, because me and you have been very focused on the Mets, so I didn't even realize that the Yankees had been in this kind of bad stretch. But the Yankees went 13-14 in June. The Mets went 12-15, so both teams struggling. The Yankees were 35-22 through May. So, they really let an opportunity to kind of get themselves to 20 games over 500 and even more than that, slip through their fingers, much like the Mets did. Even though the Mets did get to 21 over, but let that slip through their fingers too. Now, the Yankees, as a matter of fact, too, have now lost 13 of their last 19 games. Isn't this is something that, people talk about the Mets losing 14 of their last 17. The Yankees have lost 13 of 19, and tonight when they start, or they did start already at 7:07 in Toronto, the Yankees tonight will be trying to avoid the first sweep ever at the hands of Toronto in Toronto. They've been swept in a 4-game series by the Blue Jays twice in their history, once in 2003 at Old Yankee Stadium and once in 2021 at New Yankee Stadium. Never have they done it in their home park of Toronto. So, some history on the line tonight, Dan, and some pride on the line tonight for the Yankees.
Yeah, exactly. And they need to really make a statement and win this game. If they're gonna do anything, they need to win this game.
Absolutely, it's a big one for them, and it goes even deeper than that too, Dan. We're talking about the struggles that the Yankees have had over the last 19, 20 games, losing 13 of their last 19, as you can see there. And it goes even deeper than that. Over the last 18 games, look, this is the Yankees' numbers with runners in scoring position. We've talked about how bad the Mets have been all year. The Yankees haven't been bad at it all year, but over this last 18-game sample size where the Yankees have really started to falter, runners in scoring position, as you can see, 166, dead last in that time frame in the major leagues. We talked about the Mets being the second worst all year in baseball at 218 this year. That's almost 60 points higher than what the Yankees have done over the last 20 games. That's pretty crazy in itself. The Yankees have runners in scoring position over the last 18 games, only 6 extra base hits. 6. Only 2 teams in the big leagues have been worse than that during that same stretch, and with runners in scoring position as well. 54 strikeouts during that time period, by far the most in the major leagues. So it's just been a whole bunch of nothing for the Yankees over the last couple of weeks offensively.
Yeah, exactly. It's been horrible, and they expect to do anything. They got to snap out of it.
Yeah, you got that right, man. And the one thing too, I found these stats to be very, very un-Yankees like too. So when you look at this, the Yankees are 48-38 right now. 21 of their 38 losses are games the Yankees had the lead but blew it. That's the third most in Major League Baseball. On the other hand, only 16 of their 48 wins have been comebacks. That's the 5th fewest in Major League Baseball. So, Dan, when you look at this, these are the most un-Yankees-like numbers I've ever seen.
Yeah, exactly. That's what this looks like, and I feel like it's looking like Yankee fans are dealing with territory they're not used to. I tell Yankee fans, this actually does happen to baseball teams. You're not immune to this just because you guys went through a whole stretch of winning. There are actually teams that have gone through 20-plus year droughts. It happens.
Or 54, for that matter. And, yeah, you're right. It happens, my friend. It definitely happens. So, the Yankees are definitely going through it right now, just like the Mets are. The Yankees trying to fight their way out tonight in Toronto, however. And, another piece to this, too, Dan, is the Yankees had a big arm that came up in a big way for them early this season. Their relief pitcher Fernando Cruz, who was really taking care of a lot of the mid 6-7 innings for them, 6-7-8 even sometimes. But over the last 16 games since Cruz went down, he's on the IL right now. The bullpen ERA is 6.45. And when you got guys like Luke Weaver in there, who has been so good for the Yankees, but to be fair, he's coming off an injury now, so he really still hasn't established himself as much since coming back from that injury. And then the up and down ways of their closer, Devin Williams, right now. The Yankees really need this bullpen because, once again, how un-Yankees-like is it to have this kind of production out of the bullpen? The Yankees, our entire lives have usually had one of the better bullpens in baseball.
Yeah, exactly. It's kind of unheard of, but you're seeing it. It does happen. It does happen, Yankee fans.
Exactly.
I'm even speaking of that Twitter, that social media idiot Joe from Maspeth, who unfortunately lives in my neighborhood. I ran into this idiot social media troll that's been trolling us Met fans. It happens.
It does. You're right about that, my friend. So every once in a while, you go through a tough stretch. The Yankees are going through that right now. And this is the matchup tonight as the Yankees currently trail 1-0 in the second inning in Toronto, as Clark Schmidt is on the hill for the Yankees, 4-4, 3.09 ERA, against former Met Chris Bassett, 7-4, 4.29 ERA. First pitch was just about 40 minutes ago at 7:07. So definitely a big game in there for Toronto tonight. Yankees trying to avoid the sweep. And then, we turn our attention to the Subway Series for the rest of this weekend, Dan. And we already did that preview anyway. So that's going to wrap it up for our baseball talk right here. Subway Series getting ready to commence after the Mets finish up with Milwaukee tonight. And first pitch was just thrown at 7:47 p.m. here at Citi Field. David Peterson on the hill against the Milwaukee Brewers. We'll keep our eye on that before we wrap things up here. And the Yankees, as I just said, trailing 1-0 in the second in Toronto. All right, now, aside from that, we had some other big news going on. July 1st commenced the free agency period for both basketball and hockey. And let's start off with the Rangers, Dan, as the Rangers made some big news. They made a trade. They had an extension. They signed a free agent. So the Rangers have been doing a bunch of stuff. And the biggest of that, though, was the signing of Los Angeles Kings defenseman Vladislav Gavrikov to a 7-year, $49 million deal. That comes out to $7 million per as a cap hit, which is a big thing because there were people that were whispering that he could be getting 9, he could be getting 9.5 on the open market, but he wanted to come to New York. He had his heart set on playing for the New York Rangers. He had his heart set on playing with Adam Fox, and bringing this guy in, Dan, this is going to be the best left-handed defenseman that A, the Rangers have probably had since Ryan McDonough, and B, that Adam Fox has ever played with.
Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what we got, and I'm happy we picked up this guy. This is just going to be huge. I expect to see more goal production out of this team, and I expect a much better team. We're going to contend. I feel like we're closer to being title contenders.
Yeah, well, you know what, Dan? You said goal production. Now, the thing with Gavrikov is he's not going to add to the offense. He played all 82 games last year. He only chipped in about 35 points, which, by the way, is still 7 or 8 more than Keandre Miller did, who's supposed to be an offensive defenseman. But the thing that you get from Gavrikov is his incredible stick handling, his high hockey IQ, and on top of everything, his ability to commit to the defense. So it's not going to be the goal creation that he's going to really impact. It's going to be the goal prevention. And let's be honest, he's going to make life a lot easier for Quickie, Jonathan Quick, the backup goalie, and Igor Shesterkin in net, because that's exactly what the Rangers need. How many times have we had to say over the last couple of years, ooh, the Rangers defense really sucked tonight, but Igor bailed them out. Oh, man, the Rangers got blown out tonight because the defense didn't play too well. Oh, Igor had to stand on his head tonight. How many times have we said that, especially when the other team is racking up 40 and 50 and sometimes more than that shots on goal. So it's a really good thing that they're bringing this guy in to try to reel that defense back in. It looks like they're going to switch Brendan Schneider over to his offside. He's a right-handed normally. They're going to have him on the left. Looks like they're going to stick him with Will Borgen. So you're going to have a top four of Gavrikov and Fox, Borgen, and Schneider. That's a solid as hell top four for your defensive unit.
Yeah, I just have a feeling that now we're going to be in a lot of more games this time. And I expect us to have a deep playoff run now. That is what I'm expecting. Anything less than that, there's going to be a problem.
Yeah, well, hey, when you have a goalie like Shesterkin and you actually play good defense in front of him, like they did a couple of years ago, then you can have an incredible playoff run. So that's one of the things the Rangers have to, be looking forward to the most, bringing Gavrikov in to shore up the D. And, in a move, too, that a lot of people were nervous about with what the Rangers were going to get back, they ended up turning around. They traded Keandre Miller to the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, it did piss me off that they traded him to Carolina. I would have much rather see Keandre get shipped out west or just not in our division at the very least. But they did get back a pretty good return for him. It's a conditional first-round pick. It's top 10 protected, but they're going to get the better of the two first-round picks that the Carolina Hurricanes have at the moment. They're going to get a second-round pick, which is going to really help out. The Rangers have really depleted their draft picks over the last couple of years. And then on top of everything, they got this kid, Scott Morrow. Now, when I first heard about him, I just kind of assumed he was a throw-in. But this is a kid, Scott Morrow, who's a very talented 22-year-old defenseman who not only was playing for this team during the regular season for the Carolina Hurricanes, he played, pretty decent minutes during the Eastern Conference Final against the Florida Panthers for the Carolina Hurricanes. So this is a kid, Scott Morrow, that's 22 years old. He's a former second-round pick. He's a kid that's going to come in with a lot of promise. There's a lot of people that are very excited about this kid. And to be honest, Dan, I think he's going to start the season on the third pair in the top six of the Rangers defense this year, probably with either Urho Vakanainen, who the Rangers got from Anaheim last year, or hopefully not, but it could also be Carson Soucy, who hopefully the Rangers are able to trade him in his $3.25 million cap hit for the regular season, because I'd much rather see anybody else than him.
Yeah, exactly. I expect this guy is going to have some big moments. I feel like he's flying under the radar, but there's going to be some really big moments from this guy.
Scott Morrow, Dan, keep your eye on him and remember his name, because there will be a time this year where I guarantee me and you are coming on at some point this year. And let's not forget, the Rangers signed Gavrikov, the guy who essentially ends up replacing Keandre Miller, to a 7-year, $7 million a year deal. So 7 years, $49, $7 million per year. Keandre Miller signed an 8-year, $7.75 million a year. So Keandre Miller's deal was even more pricey than what the Rangers ended up giving Gavrikov. So as much as I like, I've liked Keandre Miller over the last couple of years. He had 43 points 2 years ago. He had a lot of upside. I was really excited about him, but he's just had a very bad run over the last 2 years, and his hockey IQ doesn't seem to be where you really need it to, especially when you get into those big moments in the playoffs. He's always throwing bad passes in the middle of the ice that are getting intercepted, turning the puck over, and when you get to the late stages of the season, that's stuff you just can't be doing. It's not winning hockey. And as much as I like Keandre, he was not worth about $8 million a year, right?
Yeah, exactly. It was not worth it. Rangers did what they needed to do, and I have a feeling that leaves us some room, and hopefully we set ourselves in the right position, and we know to make the right moves at the trading deadline. I feel it's going to be another key during the upcoming hockey season. And I feel like the Rangers, they're going to do everything they can to put up a good showing on our 100th anniversary season.
That's true.
For the New York Rangers.
Big 100th anniversary year for the Rangers. That's another reason, too, why it's even more sad that Sam Rosen retired, because now they got to do the Rangers 100th season without Sam Rosen. So it would have been nice to see him stick around this year, but unfortunately it's not going to happen. Although, we'll be seeing him at some point.
Yeah. I just have a feeling that they're going to have, on the 100th anniversary season, they're going to have, maybe they'll have another Sam and JD guest appearance in the booth.
Could be.
That'd be nice.
Let's keep our
fingers crossed. I would love to see that. I heard rumors that they might be doing a podcast together. I hope that happens. I would be listening to that if we have a Sam and JD podcast. I would love to have a Sam and JD. I would love there to be a Sam and JD podcast. I hope those rumors are true. And I'm eager to see who's going to be in the broadcast booth, who's going to be the Kenny Albert's booth partner this year in the TV booth. I'm leaning toward the odds-on favorite's probably going to be Dave Maloney.
Could be. That's true. Could be Dave Maloney, but we'll see.
And then I'm probably also I have a feeling Don LaGreca is going to be in the radio booth this upcoming season also.
Yeah, LaGreca does that booth a lot, so that wouldn't surprise me. But Dan, the other big news we got to get to the Rangers before we get out of here is that they extended Will Cooley 2 years, $3.9 million a season. So it's a $3.9 million cap hit, and it's just a huge job by Drury getting this done, because the one thing the Rangers have had hanging over their head over the last couple of weeks is that there is a significant possibility that a team could have popped up out of nowhere and offered a significant offer sheet to Will Cooley, which, if you're not familiar with that terminology, an offer sheet basically means that Will Cooley is a restricted free agent, which means that basically only the New York Rangers can negotiate with him. But once July 1st hits, he becomes a restricted free agent, and other teams can talk to him, I guess kind of unofficially, and if they do work out a deal and the player agrees to it, then depending on how much money that contract is worth, you'd have to give up a certain amount of compensation. Now, the amount of compensation it would have taken to get Will Cooley, the price would have been a first-round pick and a third-round pick, which a lot of teams would have been willing to pay for Will Cooley. And it's a damn good thing that didn't end up happening, because could you imagine if some team had jumped in and offered $6 or $7 million a year to Cooley, and then the Rangers would have had to let him go? There's no way the Rangers would have been able to swing paying Will Cooley $6 or $7 million this year. It just would have been financially impossible with the cap constraints,
Yeah, exactly. And luckily that didn't happen. We were able to get him at a cap-friendly deal, and we're gonna see how this goes. Hopefully he keeps up those numbers he's been giving us the last couple of years.
Exactly. So let's hope all that good stuff continues for Will Cooley. Congratulations on the new contract. And finally, Dan, let's wrap up the show here on the 4th of July weekend with a little New York Knicks talk, as we've been searching through the desert for the last 5-6 weeks for a new head coach, ever since the Rangers ever since the Knicks unceremoniously fired their head coach Tom Thibodeau, who had really built a winner in New York and had taken it further than we've gone in the last 25 years. Now they fired their head coach, and they're going to be bringing in the immortal Mike Brown. That's right, the same Mike Brown who basically, he's an okay coach. I don't want to sit here and make it sound as if Mike Brown is the worst coach in the history of basketball. But at the very least, at the very most, this is a lateral move. And I don't even think that's true because I think Mike Brown is a worse coach than Tom Thibodeau. The only time Mike Brown has ever even been to an NBA Finals, which to put it in his, this one on his side, Tom Thibodeau's never made it to an NBA Finals. At least Mike Brown has. But Mike Brown got dragged there 20 years ago by a LeBron team with those Cavaliers that lost to the Spurs. So that's the only reason that they made the NBA Finals was because of LeBron James. It wasn't because of anything special Mike Brown was doing. So this is a guy that hasn't even gotten that far in 20 years. And now we're going to sit here and expect this guy to take this veteran Knicks team to the next level when the guy that built it, Tom Thibodeau, wasn't even given that opportunity.
It's utter bullshit that Tom Thibodeau was fired, and I'm questioning this whole thing of bringing in Mike Brown. I'm going to question it until I see the results of the season. I will regret. I am going to question this whole decision by Dolan unless somehow if we win this, I will shoot myself in the foot. Not literally, but you get what I mean, right? If the Knicks win the NBA Finals, I will shoot myself in the foot about this decision.
I hear you. It's crazy, man. It's crazy what they've done. Now, let's look at this with Mike Brown. Mike Brown, prior to 2022, Mike Brown had been a assistant coach with the Golden State Warriors. So you got to give him that. He actually did get a couple of rings as an assistant with Steve Kerr and a slew of Hall of Famers on his team. Mike Brown actually does have a ring. Not as a head coach, though, as the Golden State Warriors assistant coach. Prior to that, he hadn't been a head coach of an NBA team since 2013, 2014, when he finished 33-49 with the Cleveland Cavaliers during that time period before they had LeBron and before they got Kyrie Irving. So this is a guy that has not had any success as a head coach prior to 2022. So we'll get into what he did the last couple of years with Sacramento. But his last really good season as a head coach was with the Cleveland Cavaliers in the 2009-2010 season when they won 61 games and were eliminated in the second round of the playoffs. This is a guy who, aside from that 1 year with LeBron James dragging that team to the NBA Finals in 2006-2007, this is a guy that has never gotten out of the second round aside from that year. In fact, he made the playoffs with Sacramento once in the last 3 years and got knocked out in the first round in 7 games. So this is a team that, and by the way, last year they should have made the playoffs with Sacramento. He won 46 games, but the West was just so stacked they didn't make it. But the fact is, this is a guy that's never done anything outside of that 1 year with LeBron James. I don't see LeBron James walking in through the Madison Square Garden doors, Dan, do you? I don't know why Mike Brown was the guy that they turned to. There's a reason why Sacramento got rid of him last year when they started off 13-18. I just don't get it. What in the resume? This even more to me, Dan, just spells out more clearly than it's ever been that this was all James Dolan. Because you're telling me you fired Tom Thibodeau to bring in Mike Brown? Are you, ridiculous? I just don't get it.
Yeah, this just doesn't make sense, and I'm hoping against hope that this isn't a disaster. Because nothing's worse than when you see a team that has such a high, just as such a deep run like this, it comes so close. You go into it hoping you're going to one-up that, and then it turns out to be a disaster. I'm hoping this doesn't happen with the Knicks, not after what this deep run, this ride they gave us last year. Please don't regress to the horrible, disastrous winters of all those years of the Knicks being horrible. Don't go back to that, please. Okay.
Yeah, you're right, man. You're absolutely right. So we just got to hope that, I guess we just got to hope that we're all wrong and that the Knicks know that something we don't. So let's keep our fingers crossed. One thing I did like the Knicks did, though, before we get out of here, Dan, they brought in veteran guard Jordan Clarkson, who averaged 16 points off the bench last year. This is a guy that, traditionally goes out there, averages 16 a game. So, one of the things we talked about at length about this Knicks team, Dan, was their lack of depth. They needed to add depth, and I think signing a guy like Jordan Clarkson to come in is a big part of that depth they need.
Yeah, exactly. That's a big part of that depth they need. I'm glad we're finally getting the bench depth. That hopefully we resolve the thing of burning out in the second half of games, which cost us so many times during the year.
Yeah,
even during the playoffs.
Yeah, you're right. So I think bringing in Jordan Clarkson is going to be a big help to that. And with that, Dan, I think that's going to do it for us here tonight on this 4th of July edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. Before we get out of here, anything you'd like to plug for yourself?
Sure, my Twitter, Bobo103NYC, Instagram, Bobo78DK. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our Patreon. You get access to stuff like Tracks I Admitted. You even get, where I wrap up all the stuff that happened in the NASCAR Cup Series. You also get access to neat stuff like the early access to to my YouTube videos whenever I upload something on YouTube. 1 week early access. And more importantly, you support the show and get our Patreon exclusive show every Sunday. So it's a great deal. Of course, $5 round trip on the subway. How can you not complain about that deal?
That's right. So thanks everybody for hanging out with us here on this July 3rd edition of the Best Seat in the House podcast. Don't forget, like Dan said, you can see on the bottom of the screen, check out our Patreon, patreon.com/Best Seat in the House podcast. It's only $5. And, don't forget, if you like this video here on YouTube, please subscribe to our channel and give us a like. It helps us out a lot and puts us higher in the algorithm, as they say. So, for my co-host, the great Daniel Bobo Curlin, I'm Rob Cramer. This is the Best Seat in the House, everybody. Have a great 4th of July weekend. I hope everybody has a healthy and safe weekend with the family and friends. And on top of everything, let's hope the Mets kick a little ass in the Subway Series, right, Dan?
Yep, exactly.
So
Let's hope we do that.
Exactly. So with that, Dan, we're going to get out of here. Everybody have a great week. Happy 4th, and let's go Mets.
That was a good show.